All right, for this lesson, we are working on solving inequalities using multiplication and division. You've already done this with addition and subtraction. It's the same concept. You're just going to be multiplying and dividing to get the variable by itself. You need to have written this key concept in your journal. We are on page 305 in your textbooks, so make sure you've turned to 305, you have your journals, and you have a piece of paper ready. So let's read through this. Multiplication property of inequality. Multiplying each side of an inequality by a positive number produces an equivalent inequality. Layman's terms, whatever you do to one side of the inequality, you do the same thing to the other side using a positive number. And you will still have the same inequality. If you multiply each side of the inequality by a negative number and also reverse the direction of the inequality symbol, then you still have an equivalent inequality. And this is also true for whenever you're using greater than or equal to or less than and equal to signs. So essentially, if I have an inequality, and they've used variables here, but let me just, for fun, I'm going to say a is less than 4. Okay? If you use any positive number and you multiply it to both sides, so let's just say 3 times a and 4 times 3, you still have the same inequality, okay? This is still considered the same as the original because I did the exact same thing to both sides. The difference is if you're going to do it with a negative number, so let's just say a is greater than or equal to 10. If I take that and I multiply both sides by -2, then I get -2a. You take the sign and you flip it and have -20. So that is the only difference. If you're dealing with a negative, you flip the sign. If you're dealing with a positive, you leave it the same. Okay? All right, so let's do an example. Example 1. We have x over 4 less than 5. All right, so it asks us to solve this and then to graph it. And remember, with all these inequalities, you're graphing on a number line, not in a coordinate plane. So to get x by itself, I have to move all my numbers away from the variable. So in this case, I have x divided by 4. The opposite of divide is multiply. So I'm going to multiply times 4 to both sides. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. This cancels because 4 divided by 4 is 1, which would just still be x. It's a positive, so I don't change the sign. 5 times 4 is 20. So this is the solution, my answer. The last thing it wants you to do is to graph it. So you just draw a number line. And you can get fancy and put a bunch of tick marks in here. I don't care. Or you can just say, this is where 20 is. And then x is everything, not including 20, but everything to the left, because it's less than. If this had an equal to sign, then you would fill in that circle. But since it's less than, it's an open circle on that spot. So then it's everything this direction. And that's graphed. Don't need to be fancy. That's it. Good. Let's do one of these guided practices just so you can see what else this might look like. I'm going to do number 2 down there at the bottom. So we have m over 8 less than or equal to -2. Okay, we're getting the m by itself. So we have to move this 8. Now you see over here this has a negative number. We're not moving that negative number. So as long as that's the number we're not moving, then you're not going to flip the sign. We're just moving this 8. So since it's division, I'm multiplying times 8. These cancel. M is less than or equal to -2 times 8 would be -16. So there's my final answer. and then you could graph that. Okay, so it's only when you move the negative over to the other side by either multiplying or dividing, that's when you flip this sign in the middle. Okay? All right, so let's look at example 2. This is going to show you how this is going to work. So we have x over negative 6 less than 7. So we're moving the negative 6 this time. Again, we're multiplying because this is division, so negative 6, and then this side times negative 6. These cancel, I'm left with x. Since I moved a negative, this sign is going to flip, so then it becomes greater than instead of less than. And then negative 6 times 7 would be negative 42. So then your answer is x is greater than negative 42. So then, if you were to graph this on a number line, and again, you can put a whole bunch of tick marks, or you can just say, hey, this is where negative 42 is. X is greater than, so I'm going to have an open circle, and then it's everything to the right. Voila. All right, let's look at division, property of equality. All right, so here's the key concept for your journals. If you haven't written it, pause me now and write it in your journals. Division property is very much the same as we went over the multiplication property. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other. As long as you're dealing with a positive number, the sign does not change. If I am moving and I move a negative number, then you're going to reverse the direction of the inequality symbol. You flip the sign. Okay, same thing we just did, except for now we're going to be dividing, which actually means we'll be multiplying because it was division. No, we were multiplying. We'll be dividing. Let's look at example 3. Negative 3x is greater than 24. All right, to get the x by itself, this is multiplication, 3 times x. So I'm going to divide to move that 3. Divide by negative 3. So these cancel. I'm left with x. I moved a negative, so I have to flip this sign. And so 24 divided by negative 3 is negative 8. So then you graph this. I'm going to say negative 8's right there. Doesn't really matter. This is just less than. It's not less than or equal to. And go this direction because x is everything less than that. To make sure it's an open circle because it's not less than or equal to, it's just less than. Good. All right. Let's do another one of those just so you can see it. So I'm going to do guided practice let's do number 5. So I have m over negative 7 is less than 1.6. So this one includes a decimal. Just means you need to maybe use a calculator if you can't do it. So this is division, so I'm going to multiply. Multiply. So these cancel. I moved a negative, so I have m greater than, and then you do 1.6 times 7, and it's a negative 7, so your answer is going to be negative, and you should get 11.2. All right. Let me do another multiplication one. So let's just do number 6. We have 5v is greater than or equal to 45. Okay, to get the v by itself, this is multiply, so I'm going to divide. I get v by itself. It was a positive number that I moved, so my sign's not going to change. I leave it going the same direction. 45 divided by 5 should give you 9. Now let me show you how this looks when you graph it. I'm going to do a teeny tiny number line over here. Okay, and we're at 9, so I'm just going to say 9 is right there. Oh, you need to be labeling these with 9. I don't know if I did that on all the others. Make sure you do that. And then, what's my sign? It is greater than or equal to, so I'm going to have a filled in dot. Okay, so 9. And then it is greater than or equal to, so it's everything to the right. Like that. Okay? Good. All right. Let's skip to example 5. You don't need to put example 4 in your book. We're not going to do that one. So example 5. Oh, that's talking about example 4. I guess we're going to... You don't need those. I just want you to get the... I guess that's it. No more examples. All right, so this was lesson 5.2, and you have written the examples in your workbook, so now you're going to do under the skills practice, exercises, numbers 3 through 26, and then 30 through 33. Okay, you can do these on a piece of paper and take a picture of them and submit them right here in this assignment. If this is not easy for you to do and you need help, let me know. Or you can turn them in once a week at the school for now. Let me know if you have any questions. You can comment on this video or in the Google Classroom if you have questions, or you can come to my online live tutoring.